10 most expensive alcoholic drinks in the world. Armand de Brignac Midas 30 liters. If you want a party like Jay-Z, you're going need one of these giant champagne bottles and an even bigger wad of cash. The rapper bought this in 2014, which has significantly increased demand for the brand. While their gold-painted 30 liters bottles retail for a mere $65,000, the venue price has run all the way up to $265,000. The champagne has been aged for roughly 3 decades and there is obviously more than enough to go around. A regular Armand de Brignac Midas bottle will cost only about $300. Royal Salute Tribute to Honor. Tribute to Honor gets its name from the honours of Scotland, the British Isles' oldest surviving crown jewels. You can tell from the bottle alone that this blended Scotch whisky, which retails for up to $240,000, is fit for royalty. Designed by Stephen Webster of Garrard, the bottle comes complete with 413 black and white diamonds and 3 emblems that symbolise the Scottish crown jewels. It's what's on the inside that makes Royal Salute the stuff of legend. However, the whiskies in question come from the Royal Salute vault and have been aged for no less than 45 years. With only 21 bottles originally produced, this is among the rarest bottles on the planet. 1945 Romanée Conti wine. 1945 marked the end of an era for Romanée Conti, as this would be the last year before the historic vineyard was totally uprooted. The harvest dwindling down to 2.5 hectolitres per hectare. Just 600 bottles were produced from their vines. Their 1945 vintage has been nicknamed unicorn wine since it's harder to track down than a mystical creature. And if you do find a bottle, be prepared to fork over somewhere around $500,000. In 2018, an anonymous bidder offered $558,000 for the 750 ml bottle of Burgundy. This was reportedly the most anyone has ever paid for a bottle of wine. At an auction, another bottle was purchased for $496,000, which is the second highest wine bid ever. Macallan, 64-year-old in Lalique. Macallan is known for delivering top-tier single malt whiskey, but they outdid themselves with this elite Scotch. When a bottle is made with the intent of breaking records, you can expect to pay a pretty penny. More specifically, you can expect to pay no less than $460,000. That's what a bottle sold for at auction in 2010, making it the world's most expensive whiskey. It's a jaw-dropping price tag, but other sources have priced a bottle at $625,000. Even without the 64-year-old whiskey inside, the hand-cut crystal bottle weighs 25 pounds. One entrepreneur paid $64,000 for a single shot. Mendis Coconut Brandy vs. This clear brandy was made from burris flower and aged in Hemela wood casks for 2 years. As sweet as Mendis Coconut Brandy may be, $1 million sounds like a steep price. That is, until you consider what came with the bottle. When it was first released in 2007, originally purchases included a 7-day trip to the Maldives and 2 tours of the House of Mendis. W.M. Mendes himself would also sign date and number the bottle, so basically it was more like buying a luxury vacation and the bottle was just a fancy souvenir. The Mendes website is no longer operating, though it seems like the trip is no longer part of the package. Diva Premium Vodka. The bottle for this Scottish vodka is made of glass with a wand of coloured crystals running down the centre. While the bottle itself is something of a collector's item, it's just one of the reasons why Diva Vodka is reportedly priced at up to $1 million, depending on your gems of choice. Distilling the spirit is a three-step process. To begin, it's filtered through ice and Nordic virgin charcoal, which doesn't sound especially extravagant. For the third step, however, the product is filtered through sand comprised of precious and semi-precious gemstones. If you're going to live like a diva, you might as well go all out and drink like one too. Russo Baltic Vodka. Russo Baltic is a Russian company that started out manufacturing automobiles and aircrafts, and this history is represented in the design of their vodka bottles, which takes inspiration from luxury cars priced at $1.34 million. The top of every bottle is made from pure gold and decked out with diamonds. Russo Baltic Vodka is primarily marketed to Russian billionaires and was even prominently featured in Season 3 of House of Cards. In 2018, a bottle was stolen by a masked man from Café 33 in Copenhagen, Denmark. Henri IV Dudegon Heritage Cognac Grand Champagne. This cognac was named after King of Illicat, and it's evident from the bottle's design that it was made with royalty in mind. After being submerged in 24-karat gold and platinum, the bottle is encrusted with 6,500 diamonds. As for the actual spirit, it was originally produced in 1776 and aged for over 100 years in oak barrels, also known as DNA of all cognac. This bottle is most definitely at the top of its class with a price of a whopping $2 million. Tequila Ley .925 Pasión Azteca. Based on their similar bottles, it shouldn't come as a surprise that Henri IV Dudegon Heritage Pasión Azteca have someone in common. Fernando Altamirano, the CEO of distilling company Tequila Ley, Altamirano has been behind an assortment of ambitious spirits. But ultra-premium Pasión Azteca is the most expensive tequila in the world, with their unique bottle Le Diamante at $3.5 million. The platinum bottle, which features an engraving from Mexican artist Alejandro Gomez Oropesa, is decorated with 4,100 shimmering diamonds. The tequila inside was made from 100% agave and aged for 7 years. Billionaire Vodka. The motto for this vodka is "It's good to be the king." If you're a multi-billionaire, $3.47 million is probably pocket change. For the rest of us, we'll just have to settle for admiring billionaire vodka from afar. Designed by Leon Vetz, the 5-liter bottle comprised of 3,000 diamonds and Swarovski crystals. It's truly a sight to behold, yet only the wealthiest drinkers can tell you what it tastes like. Billionaire vodka is a handmade concoction derived from a secret Russian recipe which is said to consist of pure wheat, crisp. 10 secrets hotels don't want you to know. They want you to take, or rather steal, the samples. Most people think that they are being sneaky by stealing the free bars of soap, shampoo, and other toiletries. But you often don't realize that those products have the hotel's logo on the side. So, they want you to take their toiletries. This way, you advertise their hotel. So, when you put those items in your house, it's like free advertising for them. You can save money by booking the room last minute. If you are visiting a place specifically for an event like a conference or a concert, then it is best to book your hotel room ahead of time. But, if you are just going on a holiday and have flexible dates, then wait till the last minute to book a room. The prices of the room drop up to 50% when the managers are trying to fill empty rooms. There is always a vacancy. When you are driving past hotels and see the no vacancy sign lit up, you should probably ignore it. Why? Because usually, hotels do this when they only have 2 or 3 rooms left, which means there is still a chance that they have a room. There is still a chance that they have vacant rooms. So, instead of just relying on the sign, it is better if you call the front desk and ask them if they have any rooms available. They will give you the correct answer. Free breakfast isn't really free. Travelers love free continental breakfast so much that some people just book hotels to have that extravagant morning spread. But is that place of fancy toast and waffles really free? Not really. The cost of the breakfast is probably bundled into the price of your room. So, a hotel with normal breakfasts with similar services would cost less than a hotel serving a luxurious breakfast spread. They know who you are. In today's world, everyone has a Facebook or Instagram profile, everyone has some kind of social media presence. So at some hotels, they will often look you up on Google to see who you are. But don't worry, this is not meant to be creepy. They just want to know who you are and make your stay better. They will either look you up on Google, or if your profile is not private, then they might check your profile on social media. They are probably talking about you. Do you ever get that unsettling feeling that someone is whispering about you behind your back? Well, if you are in a hotel, your feeling might be actually true. The staff at the hotel is trained to keep an eye out for any odd or unlawful activities. So, don't get offended if you think they are talking about you. They are just trying to keep all the people in the hotel safe. The sheets were probably not changed. Here, we are not talking about luxury hotels. They have a policy of changing the sheets after every guest leaves. But the same can't be said for cheaper hotels and low-end motels. In some hotels, they don't change the sheets after every guest, but rather after every 3 to 4 days. And a few hotels might even wait for a week. So, always check your sheets when you enter the room. If you see anything nasty, contact the manager immediately. The drinking glasses only look spotless. The water glass sitting beside your bed might be shining for all the wrong reasons. The housekeeping staff might just be rinsing them off and drying them with a hand towel, and not washing them thoroughly. And in some hotels, they use furniture polish on the drinking glasses. Basically, their aim is to make glass spotless, by hook or by crook. It is safe to rinse and clean your glass yourself before using it. You can change your room for free. If you are disappointed by the view, broken furniture, or basically anything at all, you can go to the front desk and politely ask them to change your room. And if there are other rooms available, they will change it. They won't charge you extra, but will rather make sure that you are a happy customer. So, next time you don't like your room, remember that you can change your room for free. How much do hotel maids get paid? You might not know this, but the majority of the hotel maids get paid based on the number of rooms they complete in a day instead of pay per hour. This is the reason they frequently knock on doors and try to complete as many rooms as humanly possible. So, you may want to allow your maid to come in and clean. Also, it would be nice to leave a tip. They would at least be able to get a living wage. he might just be the richest person alive. When you think Russia, you think Vladimir Putin. This man has been the face of the country for a total of almost 2 decades, and he has shaped not only his homeland but the rest of the world with his power, influence and of course money. But no one knows exactly how much Mr. Putin is worth. Some sources claim $70 billion, others say he's amassed a $200 billion fortune, which would make him the wealthiest person on the planet. It's hard to think of Vladimir Putin as anything other than the president of Russia due to the fact that he has been in the news quite a bit. On a train, 20 years later he discovers a disturbing fact. One morning in Belarus, Victor was all ready and enthusiastic. After all, he was about to take his daughter on her trip. It was the first father-daughter trip. Julia, the 4-year-old daughter too, was excited. He wanted to show her daughter every natural and man-made spot to make the trip memorable. Since it was the month of January, they were caught in a whiteout. However, they thought to make the most of the situation and started playing with the snow. Julia was having the time of her life. On the other hand, her mom was tensed after watching the news and frequently made calls to the hotel to ensure their well-being. They stayed in the hotel the whole night watching the snow fall. While Julia went to sleep, Victor was wide awake, worried about how will they get back home. The next morning the snow was still falling at the same pace. This disappointed Victor. The journey back wasn't long, but the snow was making it harder. He couldn't even drop the plan of returning home as his wife was waiting for them. Finally, the next day they had to leave for their home. The train was in the morning. Victor expected the roads to be blocked, but when he went out there was no place to even walk. How is he going to travel in this situation, especially with his kid? Julia was still sound asleep, so the father just picked her up on his shoulder without disturbing her sleep and somehow managed to reach the station. Someone pushed him from behind and was about to lose his daughter, but Victor caught her. He turned behind to find the person. However, due to the insane crowd he couldn't catch the culprit. The father tried searching a quiet compartment for her asleep daughter. Thankfully, he found one and was relieved to see a family opposite their seat. Victor tried his best to remain awake the whole journey and not compromise on his daughter's safety. But lack of proper sleep and rest were making his eyes heavy, and without even realizing he went to sleep. After waking from a relaxed nap, he looked beside him to check on his daughter, and what he saw took his breath away. His daughter, Julia, was missing, and so was the family sitting opposite them. Panic crept in, and he started searching for his beloved daughter everywhere, but there was no sign of her. He didn't know what to do, and tears came out of his eyes. Suddenly his cell phone rang. It was his wife. The husband couldn't find the courage to tell his wife that he lost their daughter, so he avoided the call. Victor ran to the station for help, and a guard stood there. When the guard asked what was the problem, no words came out. The guard asked again. This time he asked for help to find his daughter. The station master announced the name of Julia along with the station name. Victor was again taken aback. He had gotten off at the wrong station, and now he was hopeless. On the other hand, his wife kept on calling him, but he had no courage to face her and tell her everything. He took the train to his hometown and called the police to inform about the same. When Victor reached home, he was devastated as he rang the bell. Finally, his wife opened the door. She was relieved and happy to see her husband and asked where Julia was. Her husband remained silent. She asked again, but no response. The mother ran outside to look for her child. Julia was mischievous and used to play a prank on her parents, so the mother thought she was being pranked. When she came inside, she saw Victor crying and lastly narrated the whole incident. She burst into tears and without wasting any time rushed to the police station. They filed a complaint, after which the police gave them assurance to trust the police and relax a bit before beginning their search. Police started their search operation while the parents too kept searching for their daughter. Victor was so much in guilty that he took the same train several times just to find his daughter. The parents had sleepless nights worrying about Julia's safety and prayed for her to be safe and sound. They even checked every shop, deserted house, and every place possible. The police officers doubted everyone, the neighbors and relatives, but things went out of control when they suspected the parents. They went through several lie detector tests, and cleared them all. After searching for years, the police closed the file. However, the parents kept looking for their daughter and it was becoming impossible to live in the house which reminded her. Life goes on, so they moved to another city. A few years later, it was just another day at the new house, but they did not forget her. How could they? Julia was their beloved daughter. The parents prayed daily for the daughter's safety and well-being. It was midday and they were busy doing their chores when the phone rang. It was from the police station. They were alarmed as to why the police called a family. The lady on the other side said that a woman was inquiring about the family and claims to be their daughter. Although they never stopped thinking about her, the parents didn't know how to react to the news. It had been years since Julia was lost. Victor and his wife were both excited and nervous at the same time. Julia's elder sister, Nadia, decided to call on the number given by the lady inspector. Julia picked up. Nadia was happy to hear her sister's voice. After a while she passed the phone to the mother. At first, she couldn't say anything, but when she heard Julia's voice her eyes became teary. Victor was happy too, and somewhat his guilt was also reduced. Now only one thing was left to do: bring her back. Several questions came to their mind. What happened that day? Where was she all these years? And most importantly, is she really the long-lost daughter? Before reuniting, police investigated both the parents and the woman who claimed to be their daughter and did a DNA test. After clearing everything, Julia and other family members sat together. They were all inquisitive to know what had happened that day. Julia remained silent and stared at the wall as she recalled the memories of that day, and a tear dropped from her eye. The 4-year-old Julia was enjoying the sunset while her father was sleeping peacefully. The man sitting opposite them started talking to her. He was so friendly that Julia began to trust him. Slowly the whole family began to talk to her, and when the train halted at a particular station, Julia said no, as she feared the train would leave, but the family persisted and somehow convinced her to come out of the train. The 4-year-old came out and began to enjoy the sunset. She was so happy that she wanted to thank the stranger for bringing her out. As Julia turned to the side, the man put a handkerchief on her mouth and she sank into oblivion. She was unconscious but could hear the couple's conversation, and turns out they weren't a family but a gang. The people starved her and injected her with some substance because of which her body lacked strength and felt numb. However, one day she was left at the station where a police officer found her, fed her, and asked her questions about the family. The poor girl was in Russia, 500 miles away from her home. Police searched for her parents in Russia and failed to do so. She was sent to an orphanage where a nice family adopted her, and Julia grew up to be an intelligent woman. She fell in love with a man and one day decided to share her past with her man. After listening, instead of disapproving, glad, he immediately began to search for his girlfriend's parents. Finally, his search proves to be successful, and Julia, after all these years, could reunite with her biological family. Now she lives happily with her man and Christina, their daughter, and visits both families regularly. These discoveries in Egypt have left scientists terrified. Hidden chamber in the Pyramid of Giza. The Pyramid of Giza is known worldwide as one of the largest pyramids ever found. After researchers spent several years examining the monument, they thought they'd learned everything there was to learn about the Great Pyramid. However, in 2017 they discovered something that completely shook them. There had been a massive detail that was somehow overlooked after all these years. Researchers had learned that a large, previously unknown chamber was actually located inside of the pyramid. It's estimated that the chamber is made up of approximately 3 million stone blocks that weigh multiple tons each. The chamber is said to be located right above the Great Gallery and measures nearly 30 meters deep. Researchers were able to uncover this surprising hidden chamber after using more modern technology than what would have been used several decades ago when the pyramid was originally explored. When documenting the inside of the hidden chamber, experts used subatomic particles to map out the entire interior of the pyramid. News immediately spread about this newly found chamber. However, researchers have absolutely no idea what it may have been used for. Even after spending several decades exploring this pyramid as well as the surrounding areas, they have no idea why such a large, seemingly unusable chamber was built in the center of the structure. Maybe better details will come to light as years pass by, but for now, this mysterious chamber inside of the Pyramid of Giza remains a mystery. Mysterious liquid in a sarcophagus. An ancient sarcophagus or coffin had been exhumed from Egypt several years ago. Researchers were hopeful that this coffin would help to shed more light on some of the burial rituals that were popular at that time. However, some researchers were hopeful that this coffin might even contain the long-lost body of Alexander the Great as well. As experts were removing the coffin from its burial place, they suddenly noticed that everything was not as it seemed. The moment they took a look inside of the coffin, they made an unusual discovery that was unlike anything they could have expected. Researchers soon learned that the coffin did not contain the bones of the incredible leader known as Alexander. Instead, it contained the remains of 3 other people who had all been tightly buried together in a rather small chamber. On top of this, the coffin had reportedly not been sealed well, or the seal had withered away after more than thousands of years. They knew this because the coffin was also filled with a mysterious liquid substance that couldn't be explained. Some researchers speculate that this unusual red liquid might have intentionally been placed inside of the coffin, but no one knows for sure. This liquid was said to have been incredibly smelly, though some locals wanted to take samples of it to use it for their own private desires. Researchers soon learned that the liquid was not intentionally placed inside of the coffin. Instead, they found out that this liquid was actually sewage that had leaked into the coffin over the course of several years. Heraclian and Canopus. There are difficult areas in the pyramid that cannot be reached by humans, but that doesn't mean technology hasn't given us an astounding look into these. Traversing complete cities such as Heraclian and Canopus inside the forgotten chambers of the Great Pyramid has proven to be much more difficult. These cities were once 2 of the most important locations to ever exist in Egypt, helping to bring in goods from other nearby countries. However, as time passed by, these cities started crumbling, and they were eventually swallowed by the expanding sea. There are many incredibly well-preserved artifacts that have somehow been rescued from these cities, though. And these artifacts have given us fantastic insight into what life might have been like all those years ago. A team of highly experienced divers even managed to document the remains of an incredible temple that had been located deep beneath the surface. Inside this temple, they found several ceramic artifacts along with several batches of bronze coins. They also learned that the city was a lot larger than they had originally believed. As they continued their research, they even continued to uncover many more artifacts proving that the city was several times larger than it appeared to be. Light bulbs from Dendera. It would seem as though the Egyptians wanted to do everything in their power to ensure that their history would live on for as long as possible. To do this, they developed a rather complicated writing system that used images of common objects such as birds and other animals to document their history. These days this writing style is referred to as hieroglyphics, and we've come a long way in understanding how this writing system actually works and have uncovered many stories that the writings relay. Though one of the most interesting stories to have been shared through hieroglyphics seems to show an ancient version of a light bulb that has still remained largely unsolved. The problem with images like this is that, from what we know, the Egyptians would have had no reasonable way to create a basic version of the modern light bulb. The images and carvings that we have access to seem to show a depiction of a modern bulb, which has led some people to believe that otherworldly beings could have visited the ancient Egyptians and given them access to modern technology. We don't know for sure what these drawings could mean, after all, as they could easily depict an everyday object that would have been very common during ancient Egyptian times in the years. This object could have been lost to history and might have merely resembled a light bulb rather than being a viable light source for the Egyptians. The lost city of Aten. Looking back about 3,400 years in human history, we come to the ancient Egyptian city of Aten. This town would have been located just 5 kilometers from Luxor and was named after the Egyptian sun god of the same name. This city was believed to have been lost to time, but in 2020 researchers managed to finally clear out the ruins of the town to let us get a much closer look at what life would have been like all those years ago. At some point, this town may have been the largest metropolis in all of ancient Egypt. There is evidence that suggests the town would have also been at the forefront of Egyptian culture, standing as a town where trading took place along with countless other acts of business. Aten would have also been the epicenter for almost every important deal in ancient Egypt and would have likely been the most important economic and administrative town at the time. When the town was built, ancient Egypt might have been in its prime. The discovery and research surrounding this town have even shed plenty of light on Egyptian culture, but the discovery has also provided us with several more questions than answers. Researchers are hopeful that as they continue to uncover new information about this town, they might also learn more about ancient Egyptian rule.